Magnum T.A. was one of the biggest stars in professional wrestling in the 1980s. He was charismatic, he was athletic, and he had a physique that would make Adonis jealous. He was on his way to win the NWA Heavyweight Championship, but fate, as it often does, had other plans. His career was tragically cut short by a horrific car accident in 1986, and here are all the details. Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with this legend, Magnum T.A., born Terry Allen, was an absolute phenomenon in the mid-1980s. This guy was the total package. He had the chiseled physique, the flowing blonde hair, the captivating charisma, and the undeniable in-ring talent. He was a master of technical wrestling with an explosive power that made him a fan favorite. He quickly rose through the ranks of Jim Crockett Promotions, capturing the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship not once, but twice. His feuds with the likes of Tully Blanchard and Nikita Koloff were legendary, filled with intense matches and unforgettable moments. He was on a rocket ship to the top, destined to become NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Everyone knew it was just a matter of time before he'd clash with the Nature Boy Ric Flair for the biggest prize in the sport. But then, tragedy struck. On a stormy night in October 1986, Magnum T.A. was driving his Porsche 911 Targa through the streets of Charlotte, North Carolina. The roads were slick, and he lost control of the powerful car. It hydroplaned, spun off the road, and slammed violently into a telephone pole. It was a nasty crash, and his car was completely wrecked. He was trapped inside, badly injured, with no one around to help. Sadly, it took 2 long hours before someone finally found him and called for help. Can you imagine how scary that must have been? When the paramedics arrived, they could see right away how serious it was. Magnum was in really bad shape. The police initially thought he might have been speeding, but after looking at the evidence, they realized he wasn't. It turns out the road was wet, and his car, a powerful Porsche, just couldn't handle it. But the thing that really caused the most damage was the fact that he was stuck in the car for so long without medical attention. The impact of the crash was devastating. Magnum's neck and spine were severely injured. Some of the bones in his neck were basically exploded. That's how bad it was. The doctors at the hospital weren't sure if he would ever walk again. It was a really close call, and for a while it seemed like he might not make it. But Magnum was a fighter. He was a professional athlete in amazing shape, and that's what helped him survive. Even though he lived, Magnum's life was changed forever. The right side of his body was paralyzed after the accident. This meant he couldn't wrestle anymore. His career, his passion, was taken away from him at just 27 years old. It was a heartbreaking end to a promising career. At the time of the accident, Magnum T.A. was at the height of his career and was being groomed as the next NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Fans absolutely adored him, and he was having these incredible, intense matches with other wrestlers. Everyone knew it was just a matter of time before he became the guy, the champion everyone was talking about. He was on the verge of winning another title, a stepping stone to the biggest prize in the wrestling world. But then this tragedy struck. Now, the people behind the scenes had a huge problem. They had built all these plans around Magnum T.A., and now they had to scramble to figure out what to do. Dusty Rhodes, a legendary wrestler and the creative mind behind the storylines, was heartbroken. He wasn't just a colleague, he was Magnum's friend. Dusty came up with a brilliant and moving tribute. He decided to take Magnum's biggest rival, the fearsome Nikita Koloff, and turn him into a hero. The story went that Koloff, throughout their battles, had developed a deep respect for Magnum. He was so moved by the accident that he wanted to honor Magnum by carrying on his legacy. This unexpected twist resonated with fans on a deep level. It was a powerful story of respect and admiration between two rivals. Koloff, known for his cold, intense demeanor, showed a vulnerable side, and the fans embraced him as a hero. His transformation became one of the most memorable moments in wrestling history, a testament to the emotional connection between wrestlers and their fans. This heartfelt tribute was captured perfectly in a wrestling magazine. There was a photo of Koloff with a somber expression, and the caption simply read, "I cry for Magnum T.A." It perfectly encapsulated the feelings of the wrestling world, a collective sense of loss and a shared admiration for a star whose light was tragically dimmed too soon. Although Magnum's days as an active wrestler were over, his connection to the sport remained strong. After months of grueling rehabilitation, he began to make public appearances, inspiring fans with his courage and determination. His first on-screen appearance after the accident was in an interview with Tony Schiavone on TBS's Super Towns on the Superstation. It was an emotional moment for fans who had feared they might never see him again. Magnum's return to a live audience came during the 1987 Crockett Cup, a prestigious tag team tournament. Supported by a cane and assisted by two referees, Magnum walked to the ringside area to embrace Dusty Rhodes and Nikita Koloff. The crowd erupted in applause, celebrating not just his physical presence, but his indomitable spirit. It was a testament to Magnum's resilience and the deep bond he shared with wrestling fans. After his wrestling career, Magnum T.A stayed connected to the sport he loved. He did this by doing other jobs in the wrestling world. Magnum started by hosting a TV interview show called Straight Talk with the Boss. He talked with other wrestlers and shared his thoughts on the matches. He also became a commentator, which is like a sports announcer for different wrestling companies. Fans enjoyed hearing his voice and his opinions about the matches. Magnum also helped other wrestlers by becoming a manager. He supported his friends Dusty Rhodes and Nikita Koloff in their careers. He gave them advice and helped them plan their matches. Even though he wasn't wrestling anymore, Magnum sometimes appeared in storylines. One time, his old enemy, Tully Blanchard, attacked him on TV. This led to a big fight involving Dusty Rhodes, who had to wear a mask and wrestle under a new name, the Midnight Rider. Magnum helped Rhodes with this new character. After this exciting storyline, Magnum decided to take a break from working full-time in wrestling, but he never forgot his fans or the sport that made him famous. Now that we think of what could have been, Magnum T.A was poised for greatness, and many believe he could have become one of the most iconic figures in wrestling history. His combination of athleticism, charisma, and authenticity made him a natural successor to legends like Ric Flair. However, the tragic accident in 1986 altered the trajectory of his life and career. Even though Magnum's time as a wrestler was cut short, his resilience and ability to adapt showcased his strength of character. He remained an influential figure in the wrestling community, inspiring countless fans and wrestlers with his determination to overcome adversity. But like many wrestlers, his journey wasn't without a few controversies along the road. Within a few years, Magnum T.A found himself in hot water with NWA President Bob Geigel. Geigel called out Magnum for unprofessional conduct, and things got heated. Magnum ended up punching Geigel, which led to him being stripped of his title. He had to fight his way back to the top in a best-of-7 series against Nikita Koloff. Now for a controversy with a bit of a romantic twist. Years after his wrestling career was tragically cut short by a car accident, Magnum T.A found love with Courtney Blanchard. Sounds innocent enough, right? Well, here's the catch. Courtney was the ex-wife of Tully Blanchard, Magnum's former arch-rival in the ring. This relationship raised a lot of eyebrows and sparked debate among fans. Some saw it as a betrayal of Tully, given their intense history. However, Magnum and Courtney have maintained that their love is genuine and that their relationship began long after Courtney and Tully's divorce. Our final controversy revolves around the popular documentary series Dark Side of the Ring. When the show dedicated an episode to Magnum T.A.'s life and career, many fans were excited to hear his story in his own words. However, some felt that Magnum didn't fully open up to the filmmakers. He seemed hesitant to discuss certain aspects of his life and career, leaving some viewers feeling like they didn't get the complete picture. Sure, he had some controversies, but you can't take away from the fact that he was a legendary wrestler and would have been one of the greatest players ever had he not met that tragic accident. Let us give a quick rundown of his career history to give him the recognition he deserves. Let's start from the beginning. Terry Allen, the man we all know as Magnum T.A, grew up in Norfolk, Virginia. He was a standout athlete from the get-go. At Norfolk Collegiate School, he didn't just dabble in wrestling, he dominated. Terry became a state champion in the 167-pound division. That's no small feat, and it showed the kind of competitor he was going to be. After high school, he attended Old Dominion University. While his collegiate days didn't necessarily scream pro wrestler in the making, you could see the fire and determination in everything he did. Little did anyone know the world of professional wrestling was waiting for him. Magnum T.A.'s wrestling journey began in 1981 when he stepped into the ring for the first time. Joining the National Wrestling Alliance, he started competing in regional territories, including championship wrestling from Florida and Pacific Northwest Wrestling. Back in the territorial days of wrestling, these smaller promotions were the breeding grounds for future stars, and Magnum was no exception. In Florida, Allen began to build a name for himself, racking up wins and capturing the Global Tag Team Championship 5 times. His success in the tag division showed his versatility and teamwork, but it was clear that Allen had the charisma and talent to shine as a singles competitor. In 1984, he transitioned to Mid-South Wrestling, where he truly began to carve out his identity. It was here that the world first met Magnum T.A, a persona inspired by his slight resemblance to Tom Selleck, the star of the hit TV series Magnum P.I. The idea for the name came from none other than Andre the Giant, who suggested Allen combine the Magnum name with his initials. The result was a character that would soon become a fan favorite. As the American heartthrob, Magnum didn't just capture hearts, he captured championships. His first major title win came on May 13, 1984, when he defeated Mr. Wrestling the Skinner to claim the North American Heavyweight Championship. This was a defining moment, proving that Magnum was more than just a pretty face. He was a legitimate contender in the wrestling world. Although he held the title for 5 months, he eventually lost it to Big Cat Ernie Ladd. Even in defeat, Magnum's star continued to rise, and his next move would take him to even greater heights. In 1984, Magnum T.A signed with Jim Crockett Promotions, one of the most prominent territories in the NWA. This move would propel him to national stardom and cement his place as one of wrestling's brightest stars. Magnum made an immediate impact, entering a heated feud with Wahoo McDaniel. Their rivalry culminated in a monumental match on March 23, 1985, where Magnum defeated McDaniel to win the prestigious United States Heavyweight Championship. This was no small feat. The U.S. title was one of the most sought-after belts in wrestling, and holding it solidified Magnum's status as a top-tier competitor. At the Great American Bash in 1985, Magnum defended his title against Kamala, showcasing his ability to take on larger, more physically imposing opponents. His win further solidified his reputation as a fighting champion, but Magnum's most iconic rivalries were still to come. If you're a wrestling fan, you've probably heard about Magnum's legendary feud with Tully Blanchard. Tully was part of the Four Horsemen, one of the most dominant factions in wrestling history, and he loved to antagonize Magnum. Alongside his valet, Baby Doll, Tully made life miserable for Magnum, and their battles in the ring were as personal as they were physical. Magnum lost his U.S. title to Tully in July 1985, which only added fuel to the fire. The rivalry finally came to a head at Starrcade 1985 in an I Quit match. If you've never seen an I Quit match, it's exactly what it sounds like. The only way to win is to make your opponent verbally surrender. This match was brutal, intense, and raw. Both men threw everything they had at each other, and the crowd was on the edge of their seats the entire time. In the end, Magnum came out on top, forcing Tully to say those 2 words, "I quit." This match is still talked about today as one of the greatest in wrestling history. As if his feud with Tully wasn't enough, Magnum found himself in another unforgettable rivalry in 1986, this time with Nikita Koloff, a powerhouse wrestler from the Soviet Union. Wrestling loved to play into real-world politics back then, and this was a classic Cold War-era storyline. Magnum, the all-American hero, was up against Nikita, the imposing Soviet villain, with Nikita's uncle Ivan adding fuel to the fire. The drama started with a contract signing for a U.S. title match. Magnum brought his mother to the event, while Nikita showed up with Ivan. Things went south fast when Nikita insulted Magnum's mother, and Magnum retaliated by punching the NWA president, Bob Geigel, who had reprimanded him. The fallout? Magnum was stripped of the title, and it was put on the line in a best-of-7 series between him and Nikita. The series was like something out of a movie. Magnum lost the first 3 matches, and it looked like Nikita was going to sweep him. But Magnum wasn't one to give up. He clawed his way back, winning the next 3 matches and forcing a final showdown. The deciding match took place on August 17, 1986 in Charlotte, North Carolina. The crowd was electric, and both men gave it their all. Unfortunately for Magnum, Nikita came out on top, thanks to interference from Ivan and Crusher Khrushchev. It was a bitter loss, but the series showcased Magnum's incredible resilience and heart. Even though his career was cut short, Magnum T.A.'s legacy lives on. He showed us that sometimes it's not about how long you're in the spotlight, it's about what you do with the time you're given. And boy, did he make it count. Thanks for hanging out and reliving this incredible story with me. If you're a Magnum T.A. fan, drop your favorite moment in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more wrestling stories. Until next time, take care and keep celebrating the legends of the ring.